Hello there, and welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark. This is Tom, and recently on the Burnett Work, Robert Meyer Burnett, a good friend of the channel, dropped some interesting news about the Picard series and Bryan Fuller. Now, if you'd like to listen to a very in-depth conversation we had with the gentleman himself, you can check that out in the description below. I also have a link for the show that this clip that I'm about to play comes from originally, so do check out both, and be sure to subscribe to the Burnett Work as well.
Very, very interesting. But what I found most interesting about that is I'd heard all of this before. This concept for a Picard series. It was something that I already knew about, and I'd already heard about it. And I'd heard about it from Bryan Fuller. Bryan Fuller pitched, I don't know exactly how he pitched it, but he came up with this idea, or a version of this idea that was actually registered with the WGA, and he spoke to both Jerry Ryan and Brent Spiner about this very topic, this very series, this very premise a number of years ago when he was working on Star Trek Discovery, which I found fascinating because, as far as I know, Bryan Fuller is no longer involved in the creation of Star Trek. And it was shocking to me, somewhat shocking, that this series basically was his idea with a little tweaks, but it looks to be, I mean, judging from a 2-minute trailer, that's about all I could say. I mean, I don't know what the actual details are, but I asked Bryan about this. I said, hey, man, didn't you come up with an idea similar? And he confirmed that, yes, he did. He had pitched 5 different ideas when he was originally developing Discovery. And make no mistake, it was Bryan Fuller who created Discovery. But anyway, so Bryan had this idea for something he called Data and Picard. And how it was pitched, and again, this is an idea that's registered with the WGA, so there's a date on it. And his story began after Ambassador Spock disappeared into the rupture in the space-time continuum, creating the alternate timeline that contains the J.J. Abrams film universe, or the Kelvin universe. This tale takes place in the Prime universe. Now, Bryan said Prime meaning our universe. I think it was understood up until recently that the Prime universe was the original canonical Star Trek universe, and the Kelvin universe was the Kelvin universe. There were 2 Star Trek timelines. And from what Bryan told me a number of years ago, I had asked him about rights issues and things, and he had told me at one point that he was not ever told it had to be 25% different, that he was working in the canonical Prime Star Trek universe when he created Discovery. So Bryan had said that, and here's part of what was written in Bryan's Data and Picard story. The planet Romulus is experiencing a worldwide evacuation as its star is about to go supernova. Leading that evacuation is Captain Data, coordinating a massive effort with fleets of starships. The Romulan star goes kablooey, its shockwave racing toward the planet and certain destruction. Captain Data thinks quickly, employing 7 of 9 and a fleet of Borg expats from the long-defeated Borg to save as many as possible with mass assimilation technology. It's a brilliant and terrifying move, and a questionable one. The mission is only a partial success, and those rescued were traumatized by Borg ships appearing in their atmosphere and scooping up Romulans as if they were being assimilated. This raises questions in Data's leadership style and his insensitivity to organics. Meanwhile, Ambassador Picard is having a difficult time finding homes for Romulan refugees. Their sister planet Vulcan wants nothing to do with them, and Starfleet has new concerns with Data's support of 7 of 9 and the Borg expats. This all makes sense, obviously, because Bryan was heavily involved with Voyager. He was a producer, he was a writer, he wrote many of the show's great episodes, and obviously 7 of 9 and the Borg were a big part of that. So this would have been a continuation of many concepts and themes that were set up in Star Trek Voyager, which were amazing. Starfleet draws Picard into direct conflict with Data. Picard's concerns with the Borg are biased based on his abduction and imprisonment and brainwashing by the Borg, and his trust for Data, now a captain of considerable accomplishment, is being challenged. To make matters worse, Picard fears his Irumodic syndrome, the genetic disease sleeping in his cells, is waking up and loosening his own grip on reality. His only saving grace would come with the help of the Borg and returning to his time as Locutus of Borg to save the past and present and himself. Now, this is something that Bryan created. This is registered with the WGA, and it's out there. I mean, this is a demonstrable thing that you can find out about, and the show is dated. Now, I haven't seen any official credits on the Picard series in terms of the actual what's going to be on the front of the show and who created the show. But from what I understand, Bryan is not involved in Star Trek Picard, even though I would say that the storyline for the entire series, based on what I've seen in this trailer, all came from Bryan Fuller. I'm sorry, but obviously one of the exciting things for all of us about the Star Trek Picard shows is just how canonical it looks to be. how with Seven of Nine and with Jonathan Del Arco coming back as Hugh and Data appearing, you'd have to really know your Star Trek to come up with this. And as evidenced by what we've seen in Star Trek Discovery so far, it seems like this show leans heavily into Star Trek canon, and I wonder where it all came from. Well, it came from Bryan Fuller. So that's very, very interesting. And it's interesting that so far I think there's been a pattern established in modern Star Trek that not all of the ideas are originating with the producing and writing staff for the show, which, to be fair, with Star Trek, I have often said on my show that they should look towards books and all the different kinds of material that have been generated for stories, but I never thought that they would ever do that and not give those original writers credit. But that's just me.
Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, why not subscribe and click the bell icon for all the latest content? And be sure to check out our other videos. Stay tuned because another video is coming right up.